wanted to do this episode for a very long time, and we finally are doing it. I finally sat down, wrote down all of my thoughts and points and resources on this, and just everything came together so nicely. So today we're talking about money, and I feel like it's a little bit of a taboo subject for me, at least. I grew up in like this world where you weren't allowed to really talk about money. Everything was very like secretive. You never told someone how much you made or what you were doing with your money or investments or anything like that. And I feel like a lot of us experienced that same thing. When I talked to my friends, everyone was like, yeah, my parents like would be like, hey, you can't tell anyone how much I make or anything like that. I don't really know why. So we're not going to do that, okay? Because money is such an important part of life, and we're going to talk about it all. And luckily I was taught a lot about money growing up. I was taught a lot about money and investments and credit cards and interest rates and all of those things. And it helped me out so much. And I just feel like I would love to share a little bit about what I learned growing up, but like also what I've learned now, being kind of on my own and financially independent. So let's jump in, everybody. Drinking water today because this is a serious topic and we are serious business women right now. Okay. This is where we get intense. I'm just kidding. It's not going to be that bad. I think money is a scary topic for a lot of us. And I hate that. Because everyone has to deal with money in their life, every single person. And so the fact that we act like we don't need to talk about it publicly is insane to me, like actually insane. So two things I want to say from a biblical standpoint. Okay, we're going to start off with what God says about money. In Matthew 6:24, it says that you cannot serve both God and money. And I love that verse so much because it's a reminder that if you're not serving money, money needs to be serving you, right? So that's the goal, is to have money serve us. And then also, I love the parable. It's found in Matthew 25, where they talk about this man who loaned money out to his servants and then said, hey, I'm going away for a year. When I come back, like, give me my money back. And some of the servants went and invested the money and were really wise with it and were able to return, 2, 4, 6-fold of what they were given. And then one servant went and buried all his money and hid it away. And the guy came back and was like, bro, what the heck did you do? Now there's like dual meanings here. Like it's kind of talking a little bit about like, hey, if God gives you a talent or he gives you a gift, don't hide it away for yourself and don't bury it. Like go serve other people, go do something with it. But I also think you can kind of take this a little bit for what it is, where money should be a tool we use. It's not meant to own us. It's not meant to control us, but it's meant to be a tool that we use in our day-to-day lives. So how do we best use money? How do we steward money well? Because ultimately it's a gift from God. So what are we doing to do this? Okay. And I'm just so excited because this is going to be so much fun. We're going to go over some basics, kind of go over some ideas for like financial freedom. We're going to go over some budgeting tips, and we're also going to go over just some good moves that we should be making, specifically like for people who are earlier in life, like in their 20s, maybe even a little younger, maybe a little older. We're going to go over all the basics. Okay. I feel like I need to add a disclaimer. I don't know if I do. I am not in any way like official. Like I don't have any like degree in this. I don't have any certification in this. I know that if you do have a certification in this and you give advice freely, like that's illegal. And I learned that recently. So you have to be paid for your advice. But since I'm not certified, guess what? You guys get my wisdom for free. I'm just kidding. Ew, that was so cringe. But it's fine. We're going to move on. So ultimately, I'm going to give you a big picture idea. Ready for this nugget of gold? The goal is to increase your income and decrease your expenses. If you want to save money, that's it. That's point blank period. No other way around it. You need to increase income and decrease expenses. Boom. Like that's the ticket right there. Okay. But when we hear that, it often is so much more complicated than that. And it's just a lot, you know what I mean? So in the kind of the vein of breaking the secrecy era that we've all been in, I think a lot of us grew up in that secrecy era where we don't talk about it. I want to talk about it. I want to talk about how much money everybody makes and what we're doing and stuff. And I also think as women, it's really important because there are fields where we still are taken advantage of, and we can still look at our male counterparts and they're like making so much more than us. And it's like, oh, okay, that's super fun. So to just have open dialogue around these conversations does nothing but good things. And I understand maybe to an extent that you want to be private, but everyone's got money and everyone's got problems. And so we're going to talk. All right. So let's start off with how to start your finances. How do we start our financial journey here? So I'm hoping all of us have this done, but if not, the first step is to open a checking account. Okay. This is going to be through a bank. So we use Chase Bank and love them so much. They're great. They're very like universal. So when we travel abroad, our Chase debit cards work really well. We can go to ATMs, all the things. We're not limited to a certain area. I love Chase Bank so much. Okay. So you open a checking account, and if you already have a checking account, we'll get into what savings accounts are, but a checking account is where you can withdraw money, and you usually get a debit card with it. People used to get checks. I don't get checks out of my checking account. I've never probably written a check, besides like practicing with my mom because she wanted to make sure I knew how to write a check. But anyways, this account is going to be where you're going to have all of your deposits go to when you make money. So when you get a job and they give you money, you're going to put that money in this checking account initially. Okay. So that's step number one. We need a checking account. Next step is credit cards. And I hate that this is controversial. Like, I hate this. I am the most pro credit card person you will ever meet. I think they are great. It is such a good way to build your credit score. And the credit score that my husband and I have, that's the reason that we are able to buy our house. That's the reason that we are able to, do a lot of the things that we do, is because of the credit score that we have. Like, it's an important thing. And the fastest way to grow it is your credit card. And I know Dave Ramsey out there is not happy with this because he thinks that credit cards are very bad. And listen, it's the same thing where you could say the same about carbs. You could say the same about literally coffee, anything in excess is bad for you. So of course you don't want to abuse a credit card. Okay. So what we're talking about when abuse and why credit cards are sticky. Okay. So here's the thing. You get a line of credit when you open a credit card. So let's, for the ease of it, I'm going to be honest with you guys. I have on one of my credit cards, I have two, I have a $10,000 line of credit, which is a scary freaking number. That means every month, I can spend up to $10,000 on this one credit card. So that's insane in and of itself. And so there's a lot of freedom and responsibility with that. And where we sometimes run into problems is that people will spend all $10,000, but then if you can't pay it back, you have an interest that sits on that credit card and they make you owe more. So let's say I spent $10,000 in my first month and I couldn't pay it back. That means the next month, if there's a, let's call it 25% interest on it, the next month I now owe $12,500 on that credit card because then my interest is accruing. And there are some credit cards that have a 30% interest rate on them. None that I have, but it's insane. And it's a really, really risky gambit. People can fall into hundreds of thousands of dollars of debt. So if you know yourself and you know that you have no control, then yeah, maybe you shouldn't get a credit card and you should stick with a debit card. So the difference between a debit card and a credit card is a credit card has that line of credit that you're pulling from. So money that you don't necessarily have, you can pull from, where the debit card is pulling from that checking account. So you have these two differences, okay? And again, I told you guys, we're going to start with the real basics and then we're going to get really deep into this, okay? So the two credit cards that I highly suggest that my husband and I both have, I love them. If you're starting out, I love the Discover card. If you qualify, if you're in grad school or college or whatever, the Discover student card is amazing to start off. So many benefits. You get cash back, which means as you spend money, they'll reward you with money. So let's say it's December and the cash back is on Amazon, you get 5% of all the money you spend back. And then that means you can get a gift card, you can go out to eat with it, you could redeem it to go towards the money you spent, all these things. So you just have to be really careful. I remember when my husband first got his credit card, he wanted to build a lot of discipline with it. So anytime he used his credit card, he would literally go get in the car afterwards and pay off the credit card on the app. So he would let's say he went out to eat, he spent $20, he would go into the car and he would pay off the credit card, that $20, literally as soon as it was done. And that just built the habit of paying it off. And also, if you have a credit card, put reminders in your phone to pay it off. You can add the notifications from the app to pay it off, all these things. They really want to work with you. So I highly suggest starting out with Discover. And then when you're ready to kind of step up to the next one, the Capital One Saver Card is amazing. You get 3% back on food. They have really good travel benefits. You can save up your points for really, really amazing deals with like flights and hotels, or you can just gain the money back or get a gift card. They're just really, really amazing. And if you're treating it like a debit card, all you're going to do is grow your credit score. Absolutely incredible. Okay, so we've talked about checking accounts, talked about credit cards. Next, let's talk about investing a little bit more. Okay, so let's say you have your checking account, you have your credit card, and you're doing pretty well. I feel like this is where a lot of people kind of maybe stop a little bit, and they're like content with it. And this is responsible. This is good. But what's the next step? So the next step is to start investments, specifically in retirement funds. Okay. So it's crazy to me. And at first I really didn't love the idea of putting money in retirement funds because I felt like, what the heck am I doing? But when you really think about it, I would love the freedom when I'm older to not have to keep working in my 60s, 70s, 80s, and let's be honest, 90s and 100s, because I'm living to 112. I just have that feeling in me, okay? So I want to be able to survive. I want to be able to live and not have to work super, super hard for that entire time. I watch so many of my grandparents and family members have to work and work and work, and I want to do what I can to make that less of a burden on myself and my family. So retirement funds. The Roth IRA. This is probably your most, I'm going to say, popular investment fund for people starting out. It's very, very well known. So what a Roth IRA is, it is a retirement fund, but you can pull it out early. You have to pay back some of the interest and stuff, but the interest rates are usually pretty dang good. And you can max out your entire Roth IRA with $6,000 each year. Okay. So you can only put in $6,000 a year into your Roth IRA. And so just truthfully, Matt and I, we both max it out. So that's $12,000 a year that we both put into our Roth IRAs. And what this means for us is that, oh gosh, I think it's I'm trying to remember what my most recent one was. By like 45, maybe 48, I'm supposed to have $2 million in my account, and Matt's supposed to have $2 million in his account, because these are very aggressively, like they're in very aggressive funds when it comes to just trying to get the money invested. So it's very aggressive. And that's amazing. And then as you get closer and closer to the age that you actually pull on the money, they get less and less aggressive. So you make less money, but it's just a really good program to be in. You can also do this through Chase Bank. You can start your Roth IRA. Matt and I are switching over. We are hiring a personal financial planner. Actually, in the next probably 3 weeks, he'll be officially onboarded with us. So he's going to take over the accounts for us and be even more aggressive with it. Versus just like the monitored one. But yeah, so $6,000 a month, or not $6,000 a month, $6,000 a year goes into that. So you're talking only $6,000 a year has to go into your Roth IRA and you're set up. You also have the 401k retirement funds. The reason why this is good is because oftentimes if you have an employer, they will match whatever you put in. So they will match up to every 25 cents that you put in there up to, $500, they'll match your retirement fund. So we both have incredible matches from our employers, Matt and I both. And so we put in the absolute max that we can into our retirement funds for the 401k that the employer matches. So we get our match, and then we don't put in any extra. So that's not something that we're actively trying to grow outside of just doubling our money with an employer match. Okay. So 401ks are great. I highly suggest that if you have the wiggle room, put the money into it up to the match of your employer. So then we have two other types of investments I want to talk about. Next is the CD investment. Okay. So the CD investments are really, really interesting. They're amazing if you have some extra cash laying around. So if you have a savings account or a checking account, and that's where you're holding all your money, you're not making a lot of interest back. I think right now, I think my checking account makes 0.01%, like literally teeny tiny amount of interest, where like I make like 30 cents every month on interest. So it's not ideal to hold my money, but I also need access to my money, and I don't necessarily want it completely locked away in like the stocks, where I'm going to be penalized if I pull my money out early, like significantly. Because if you're in the stock market and you pull your money out or move it around a lot, you have to pay taxes on it. And there's always really high fees, and you'll actually lose a lot of money if you're not careful about it. We learned that the hard way. So anyways, the CD investment is amazing because what you can do is you can lock your money in, usually around 12 months to 18 months. So it's slightly longer, but you can pull the money out and all you'll lose is the interest. So let's say that I had $10,000 and I wanted to get it in a CD so it has better interest. So compared to the checking account, which is like 0.001, or 0.01, whatever. Right now, the CD that we have an investment in is at 5%. Okay. So over the course of the 12 months that we locked it in for, we're going to make about $800. That's pretty dang good. You know what I'm saying? Like that's really, really good because we have over $15,000 in that CD locked up. And when we need that money, we can pull it out without any sort of loss except for that interest. So let's say there's an emergency and we need that $15,000 that we locked up. Guess what? We can pull it out. We're just not going to make the interest back. And that's okay because that means the money was just sitting there. So those are really, really smart. I have had CD investments my entire life. My mom would lock them up, and then every time they came due, so every 12 to 16 months, 18 months, we would sit down and she'd be like, okay, you have, $3,000 in the CD. What do you want to do with it? Do you want to lock it back up, or do you want to take some out? Do you want to add to it? And we would always kind of go over that type of money. So I'm very familiar with CDs. I highly suggest them. If you get the Capital One card, so if you get the Capital One Saver card, they have a CD program too. So you can invest your money through Capital One. So the reason why I love Chase and Capital One is because everything can be in-house for them. You don't have to really go too far. So I use Chase for our savings account, our checking account, and our Roth IRAs. And then I use Capital One for the credit card and the CDs, both of which have incredible easy apps to navigate. I can check everything very quickly. I can check to make sure everything looks right. These are just really amazing tools to be using, okay? And then the last thing I want to talk about is index funds. This is like something that I am super interested in right now. I really want to get into index funds and investing. We currently don't have any, but I've been talking with our financial planner, and we're kind of ready to start investing in index funds. So index funds are Fortune 500 companies that usually do really well. So they're safe investments, but you're usually doing pretty well with them. And you can do that through a company called Fidelity. There's a few other that you can do it through, or you can have a personal planner who does it for you, like Matt and I do. So, okay, that was like a rundown of everything. Like I said, I really suggest starting with those savings accounts and checking accounts, going into the credit card, and then slowly building up to retirement and CD investments to start. These are really, really good ways to start. And then once you're past that point, at least for me, because I'm not certified in a lot of these things, I find it's really, really important to have a professional looking at it. And so that's why, we're at this point for my husband and myself where it's like, okay, we have decent amount of income coming in and we need to step up our investments so that way we're stewarding the money well. We're not letting money control us. We're stewarding it well. And I love it. I love it so much. It's so fun. Our planner is so cool and he's going to be working with us and it's amazing. They take a percentage. It can vary depending on where your financial planner is coming from. They'll either take a percentage of what they earn you or they'll take a percent off the top, kind of like a flat rate fee of how much money they're going to be working with. There's so many options. And so I highly suggest you look into that too. So, okay. Now we went over kind of like the how to start, the basics. I want to get a little bit more into the budgeting side of things though. So the number one tip that I have for a good budget is that you need to sit down and have a deep audit. Okay. Probably really soon. And what a deep audit is is where you are going to look at where all of your money is going. Matt and I recently did this. We try to do this probably every 6 months, maybe, is where we have a deep audit. And this means, okay, what are we spending money on? Truthfully, like on a big picture, like how much money are we spending on food? How much money are we spending on Amazon orders? How much money is coming in? Where have we been successful in investments? Where have we lost money? What kind of things do we need to work on in the future? What's our next steps? Like a really, really deep audit. And this is so helpful because you're going to notice what subscriptions you have. Are you paying for multiple subscriptions? Are you paying for subscriptions you don't need anymore? What are the bills looking like? Is there any way that you could lower your water or electricity bill? Are there places that you're maybe losing money that don't need to be there? So that's super, super important to look at your spending habits and then see what you need to come back on. Not that long ago, Matt and I realized that we were spending a ton of money on food. So to give you reference, I think we were spending almost $1,000 a month on food. And I'm just being so straight with you guys because we were both on this kind of like health kick. And so Matt was really wanting like healthy foods, and I'm someone who really wants like organic, all natural foods. So we started shopping at Whole Foods a little bit, but then at the same time, we're both incredibly busy people. So we were picking up food a lot, but because we wanted it to be healthier, we weren't picking up like McDonald's. We were picking up like higher end fast foods. Like there's this place that we love. It's called Piata, and they have these like amazing salads and pita breads and all these things. And it's like $15 per person to eat there. And we would pick that up like twice a week because we needed food. And it was insane. We were spending so much money on food. And we just realized like, okay, you know what? We need to learn balance here of like what is healthy versus what is financially responsible. And so now we've like cut that bill in half and we're back to a little bit more of a regularly scheduled program. And we were able to catch that habit though, instead of keeping up with it and going deeper and deeper into it. So just look at what you're spending money on, try to really gauge it. That's important. The next thing you need to do is have multiple streams of income. Okay, this is probably my best piece of financial advice. This is how Matt and I have gotten to where we are now, is not relying on one job or two jobs between the two of us. If you have multiple streams of income, what you're doing is you're diversifying and you're making it so that way you're not relying on one thing. So I know that this can be hard to hear because for so many of us, we work a 9 to 5 and it's like, well, when in the world am I supposed to find time to add another stream of income in? And I get it. I totally get it. For a while, I felt the same way. I was like, how am I supposed to do that? Like, that's insane. But there are so many ways to make money and to just, lean into not just working one job and having a couple sources of income coming in. And it really helps with the burden of everything. So for Matt, he works his 9 to 5. And that is a huge source of income for us, but he also then is in the Army. And right now he's finishing up some stuff. So we'll go full-time Army in the future, but right now he's getting his master's degree. So that way he can be a chaplain in the Army. And as he's working on that, we have his Army money, and then we also have his full 9 to 5 job. Okay. So we have two sources of income coming in from Matt. And then before that, he was a umpire. He did some baseball coaching on the side. He was working for a church kind of like marketing company. So he always has had multiple sources of income coming in. So we are never reliant on only one source of income. For me, very similarly, I work a 9 to 5, but I also have a part-time job that I work with an influencer company. And then I also am a content creator on the side. And what's so insane to me, is that the content creation is actually where we make probably the majority of our money. Matt and I usually tie for the amount of money we bring in between content creation and his 9 to 5. But we have so many sources of income coming in. Some of them are from fun things. Like I used to be a volleyball coach. I love to create content. Matt loved to coach baseball and umpire and all those things. Those are fun things. But then we also have our bigger jobs where, we're really focused on serving others. So for Matt, that's in the Army. He leads a battalion and he is focused on serving others. For me, that's, my job at Project Rescue. So you know what I mean? We really try to diversify our income enough where it's coming in multiple streams. Okay. So that's a big thing. If you can find an extra side hustle, pick up some extra work here and there, whatever, just have some other options. And the freedom you'll feel is huge. Okay. So next, obviously there has to be a tithe on this. God literally tells us that we need to be tithing our money. So this is important. And it can be a hard pill to swallow, because a tithe, it doesn't have to be 10%, but usually 10% is where you sit at. So I don't want to necessarily talk too much about what Matt and I do charity wise, just because I do like to keep that a little bit more private. That's one of the things I do keep private, just because, but you should be giving at least 10% if possible, of what you're making. And I love it. So we support 3 ministries through that. So we support an international ministry, we support a local ministry, and then we support our church. So we have 3 ministries that we love to support each month and give back to, because that's really, really important, especially tithing back, giving your money back to God, because ultimately it's His, and these are tools that He's given us, so we need to give back, okay? That's a really important aspect of the budget. So as you're sitting there and you're doing your deep audit, what are you tithing? Are you tithing anything? Are you tithing something? Like, what does that look like for you? And have that conversation with God too, of like, okay, God, what do you need from me? What should I be giving? What's the best here? And it's not because God needs your money. It's because you need to see that your money is not more important than God. That's the truth. Okay. So, that's really important. Also having an emergency fund is really, really vital. So you build up to this, and the emergency fund, the idea is that you can survive 3 to 6 months, no payments coming in. So what does that look like? You have to look at all your bills, your rent, your mortgage, your car payments, your bills, your food, all of that, add up what it is each month, and then multiply it by either 3 to 6, somewhere in there. And it's going to be like a massive chunk of change. I think for Matt and I, for 3 months, surviving is like $15,000 or something like that. It's like a lot of money, you know what I mean? And if all of our jobs were lost, all of them, we want to be able to like live at least a little bit while we're looking for other jobs, or we're picking up part-time jobs, whatever. So building out an emergency fund is really crucial. So as you're working towards investments in retirement in the future, you also should be slowly building up an emergency fund. So that way, if something were to happen, you're going to be okay. You're going to survive. Next, I highly suggest you automate all your payments. Okay. What's really nice about rent, mortgages, credit cards, pretty much all your bills that are coming in, you can have them automated. So that way they will automatically pull out your payment, and you're not having to deal with late fees or missing payments ever. Okay. So I have this. I have a checking account. Obviously, we talked about this, and I keep enough money in there so that way our mortgage automatically gets pulled out each month. Our electricity, our water, our gas, our internet, all of our charitable giving, everything, all of our insurance, all of it gets pulled out automatically, as well as credit cards. So on the first of the month, my credit card will pay off the balance automatically. Usually I've already paid it off before that. But I know that I'm not going to have to deal with interest or late fees or anything like that. And setting up those automatic withdrawals is going to help you so much, because even if you do have a forgetful moment, then when you forget to sit down and talk about it, or, pay something off, you're usually covered. Okay. So those are huge ways, just a couple tips when it comes to budgeting, where your money needs to be going. I also think that, Matt and I were so blessed. We were able to pay off. So I didn't have any student loans. I worked like 40 hours a week while in college. So that way I could pay off my student debt and not take out student debt. I was able to pay for it. And then my parents paid for part of my degree. I paid for the rest of my degree. And it was so sweet. I'm so honored that they were able to do that. And then same with my car. I was able to pay off my car and everything like that. So I didn't have any debt, which I am so blessed to say, especially as someone who has like a master's degree. That's like a really, really insane thing that I am so blessed and just thankful for. So when we got married, Matt did have student debt, and it was something that was honestly hard for me to understand, just because it's not something that I had. And it was like kind of like a tough pill to swallow, like joining finances and realizing that I had to take on debt now. And it was difficult. And Matt had some medical bills that he had to pay off and stuff like that too. So we looked at all of the debt that was before us, and we were like, okay, we know this is the interest rate. So we took the highest interest rate of a bill, and then the lowest interest rate, and we kind of prioritized them. So he had a couple different loans that were pulling from different areas. So we looked at all the interest rates and we prioritized them based on highest interest rate to lowest interest rate. And then what we did is we just worked our butts off to make payments on that. And we were able to pay off, let me think about this. He had about $30,000, $25,000, $30,000 of debt in a year. And that came from us being really strategic in not overspending anywhere, increasing our income, decreasing expenses, and putting as much as we could towards that debt. And also another important thing is that when we first got married, we lived very below our means. We made decent money, but we lived in an apartment where our rent was $1,200, and then we moved to an apartment that our rent was $1,600. So we were able to net a lot of money, pay off our debt, enjoy life, go on some really fun trips, travel, hang out with each other, and then ultimately buy our house. And that was an incredible experience. And I'm so grateful for it. I'm so grateful for it. And the freedom that you feel when you pay off debt is so significant. It's so huge. So I highly suggest, if you do have debt, figure out where your loans are, figure out what you owe, prioritize it based on the interest amount and how much interest you're paying where, and work towards paying it off chunk by chunk. Make principal only payments when you can, okay? I love principal only payments. So what this means is when you have a loan, whether that is a credit card loan, whether that is a mortgage for a house, a car loan, or student debt, whatever, what happens is that they've accounted for the interest in the payment. So let's talk money, okay? So we owe $320,000 on our house. That's what's left for us to pay with our down payment and everything. We owe $320,000 on our house. When we pulled out a 30-year fixed mortgage, when this is said and done, when we pay it off in 30 years, we will have paid, oh gosh, I calculated it, I forgot the number, over $100,000, maybe even over $200,000 in interest. Interest alone. That's it. That's insane. So principal only payments means that you're not paying interest. So you can do this on top of it. So, okay, let's talk about the house. So for our house, we owe $322,000. Our monthly payment should only be about like $1,200, but we have to pay over $800 in interest every single month. Okay, in interest alone. So it sucks. It's tough, and it's again disgusting, and I hate it. But what we do then is we take that, we pay off how much we owe for the mortgage, and then we'll make an additional payment on top of that. That's principal only, and that means that it's not for interest. So we just, like, let's say we paid off another additional $2,000 to the loan. We drop our loan amount without paying towards the interest at all. So if you have a loan amount and you have extra money, you can make principal only payments where you're not paying towards interest, you're paying towards the actual amount that you owe. So that's freaking amazing. It's really helpful, and I love that so much. So make principal only payments when you can. That's a tip. Okay. Last little tip is to give yourself fun money. Again, money serves us. Okay. So if you can budget out, $10 a week, and you get to treat yourself with that, whether it's going to Target dollar section and picking out a few little goodies for yourself, whether it's going to Starbucks and getting one drink, whatever it is, give yourself money that you can play around with and have fun with. And as your budget grows, that amount can grow with it too. And that's just a really helpful thing. If you want to learn more about this, okay, if you're like, you know what, I want to take my finances to the next level. I hear this and it's really great, but I need more. There are a few books that I have absolutely loved. I'll read them really fast. So I Will Teach You to Be Rich by Ramit Sethi. I think that's how you say it, maybe. The Broke Millennial by Aaron Lowry. Rich Dad, Poor Dad. That's a huge one by Robert Kiyosaki. Girls That Invest by Simran Kaur. And then The Psychology of Money by Morgan Housel? I don't know how you say that one. Anyways, Those are really, really good books and resources that just teach you about money, teach you about how you should act towards money, really practical steps on what you should be doing, how to get out of debt. All those things are really good. The Dave Ramsey course for money, I've been through it probably 3 times now. It's decent. Like I said, I disagree with a lot of the stances, especially about credit cards, because credit cards do have a really amazing role with cash back and with credit scores and stuff. But he's good too. He's known as a financial guru for a reason. So I hope that this was helpful. This was like so much information I just like threw at you, but it's really important information and I just love every single moment of it. So I hope that this helps. I hope that we have open dialogue with this. If you guys have questions, feel free to reach out. I'm not going to keep things a secret about this. You know what I mean? Like, that era is over for us and we're going to be honest and truthful about what money is coming in, what money is going out, and I love it all. So anyways, you have questions, reach out, but if not, I love you like crazy and I hope that this gives you a little bit of encouragement.